You may have heard the popular saying, "Never judge a book by its cover." This truism certainly applies to this book. Belies its plain, unassuming exterior, it is one of the earliest books printed in Singapore and contains rare articles that cannot be found anywhere else today. This book is titled Notices of the Indian Archipelago and the Adjacent Countries. It was published in 1837. It is a quarter volume containing about 400 pages, and it has articles about Singapore as well as Southeast Asia, and comprises compilations of reprints from early newspapers in the Straits Settlements, as well as periodicals such as the Journal of the Asiatic Society. The person who produced this book is called John Henry Moor. He was the editor of several newspapers, including Singapore's first newspaper, the Singapore Chronicle. So here we have a reprint from the Singapore Chronicle in 1824. They are really a rare record of Singapore and Southeast Asia of this period. So Moore was actually inspired to put together this book because he wanted to preserve the knowledge that was captured in these newspapers about this region. One of the important articles that's recorded in the book is titled Journal of a Voyage Round the Island of Singapore. It actually records John Crawford's former possession of Singapore and its adjacent islands. As they travelled around Singapore, they anchored at Pulau Ubin and hoisted the British flag. And they also recorded that a 21-gun salute was fired. Besides articles, there are also maps, and these are listed at the front of the book. One of these maps is actually a very important map on the Singapore town and its environs. The second map is of the Singapore Straits and Riau Straits. It is actually based on the hydrographic chart that was done by Daniel Ross, who was the hydrographer of the British East India Company. Moore did face several obstacles in producing this book. He actually explains the reasons behind why there was such a delay in this page that's called Preface by Way of Apology. The production was actually stalled several times, and it took 2 years for him to actually release this book. One, he was busy with a full-time job. The second thing was that it was really hard to find skilled labor to print this book. And the third thing was that paper was really scarce at that time, and the paper had to be imported into Singapore, and that took time. From other sources that we've read, we know that this was a very costly affair for G.H. Moore to actually produce this book. He sold the book for $5 or $6 Spanish, and that money that he earned was not even enough to recover the cost of printing the maps. So all in all, he did have an idea at first to publish a second volume which would contain more Singapore articles, but that did not happen. I personally feel that this book really is a printing achievement. As I've mentioned, there were a lot of difficult conditions at that time, but Moore actually persevered. Today, we are able to have a record of Singapore of that period because of this book.